Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about how you can make effective Anki flashcards for the different content areas on the MCAT. We're going to talk about how you can use cloze deletions and talk about the common pitfalls people fall into, and we'll also talk about the highly regarded and very important image occlusion enhanced flashcards, which you should also be using to maximize retention and memory of the different concepts that you guys are going to be covering. If you're new here, my name is Ujjwal. I'm a recently graduated chemistry student, and I make videos on being pre-med, productivity, and lifestyle. So if any of those things sound interesting or appealing to you, please consider subscribing. But let's get on with today's video. Here, I went ahead and opened up the Anki interface, and we're going to talk about how to create decks and browse through different cards to filter and customize and edit them. So first things first, if you don't see this other stuff here, that's because I installed an additional add-on so that I have more statistics. If you're interested in learning more about the different types of Anki add-ons you can use to maximize your studying, then let me know in the comments and I'll make another video. So first things first though, we need to talk about how to make our own decks. Now, if you're using a pre-made deck from Reddit, then it's really simple. You just need to download the deck and open up the Anki package, and it should automatically open up in the Anki interface. So no problem there. Now, as I've mentioned, you should be changing those cards so that you customize it, and also creating some of your own subdecks to essentially move cards in there if there's certain cards or concepts you're struggling more with, and also to create another subdeck essentially for concepts that you miss in your full length. So in one of my previous videos, I talk about how you should be reviewing your MCAT full length exams after you've taken them. So any cards that come out of that process and workflow, which I've discussed in detail in that video, should essentially go in their own deck. And so if you want to create your own deck, you should go down here and click create deck, and then obviously name your deck. I'll name mine MCAT_deck, and then there you go, it's created. So if I click on this, I can basically go in here and I see that I don't have any cards, obviously, because I didn't create any yet, but we're going to be doing so in this video. Now, in addition to that, at the bottom here, you do see specific options for the deck. You have options and custom study. So if you click on options, it basically gives you this ability to change a lot of different settings. My recommendation is don't touch any of these things. If you're using this as a beginner, there's really no need to. There are certain things you can change to maximize your studying and efficiency and how many new cards you review per day. So I'm going to cover that in another video. But for the time being, don't change any of the settings. And when you click on custom study, that's the other option that essentially allows you to go outside of the Anki algorithm for the schedule that it gives you to study cards in, to review cards that you really want to review maybe on a specific day. So something you can do is study by card state or tag, and then select cards based on a specific tag. That's exactly why I highly encourage you to tag your cards. But as I've said, that's kind of also beyond the scope of this video. I'll make another video talking about how you can use custom study. The one thing I do want to touch on though before we move on is the browse feature. So this basically allows you to see all your cards based on the deck and subdecks they're in, and also essentially organize them based on their tags. It's really effective because first things first, you can edit your cards after you made them using the browse feature. And you can also go ahead and filter out your cards, see how many cards in a specific tag for custom study options later on. So that's basically it for a brief intro. So yeah, let's get right into making your cards. So I went ahead and opened up a document with notes that I've taken from MCAT review books from last year. And then essentially what I want to do is I want to show you guys how I made my own cards. Now, there's two primary types, cloze deletions and image occlusion cards that we're going to be covering. So first things first, with cloze deletions, if you want to add a card, you go up here at the top, click add. Here at type, it already says cloze, which means cloze deletion for me. So I don't really need to be worried about anything else. But if it's not, and by default it's something else, I just click on that and then change it up right here. As you can see, I do have image occlusion enhanced already because that's an add-on which I have added. If you don't already have it, go ahead and check a link in the description below where it tells you how you can install it. All right, so we're going to be starting off with cloze deletions. So go ahead and choose cloze. Now, first things first, I'm going to talk about how to add cards based on different sections. So what I usually do is I'm going to go through, I find a specific subsection of a topic. So here, this was chapter 3 of an MCAT review book for embryogenesis and development. And in the first section, the first subsection in the first section is fertilization. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make cards off of this topic right now. So first things first, I want to have a tag. I start off usually with an abbreviation of the subject. So here it's bio, so bio, and then underscore more specifically what topic inside of bio. So here it's fertilization. already have a tag on it, but basically that's what I do. This, as I've said many times, allows you to filter out cards for your custom study sessions and see which types of cards you're getting wrong. And let's say you're doing a full length and you miss questions on fertilization a lot. Now you can easily find those, cover those cards once more, and you can even see if you don't have any cards on a specific topic, because if you don't, then that tells you, okay, I need to make some cards on this, I need to review this concept more. So that's basically it for tags. Now, after I create a tag for the topic that I'm in, I'm gonna go ahead and go essentially line by line. Now, one mistake a lot of people do is, and this is basically the difference between people who can create good close deletion cards and people who can't, is some people, what they do is they take information, they copy it, they paste it, and then as you can see, I went ahead and put all the keywords in bold. So what these people usually do is they'll go ahead and then put those bold things in close deletions. They'll just go ahead and block those off for their review, and once they do that, they're just going to be testing themselves with essentially those keywords blocked off and them essentially regurgitating that from memory. Now, that, as you can see here, let's say we open up that card, that is a very ineffective strategy because first of all, you're really not testing yourself. You're not really testing yourself to the level where you understand the concept and you're demonstrating your retention of it. All you're really doing is remembering a couple of keywords and regurgitating those keywords. So this is a very ineffective strategy. I used to make cards like this myself until I realized it really wasn't working for me. And I essentially tried a lot of different methods and realized that the best way to create a good framework for closed deletion cards is the following. Start off with a question. Start off with an active recall question. And in this case, if I'm starting off with fertilization, I'm going to ask myself, what is fertilization? So as you can see, this is quite broad, but it's also a little bit more specific. It's talking about, what is fertilization? And then what I'm going to do is I make my process really easy. I go ahead and select the text that really best answers that, things that I really want to keep in my mind. I'm going to put that down here and, just reformat it a little bit so that it looks a little better. And then what I do is I take all this stuff, I put it in closed deletion. So if you want to put a piece of information in a closed deletion, so basically that you're tested on it, you go up here and you click on these three dots inside brackets, or you can use essentially the keyboard shortcut, which is Command-Shift-C. So once you click on that, it's going to put that in a nice closed deletion, and then down here I'll do the same thing. And then if I were to go ahead and close this, now look at what the card looks like. You have the active recall question, and it gives me no more information. So a good framework is the following. Active recall question, one question. It should be a little broad, but also not too broad that, it would take forever to answer the question appropriately. So therefore it should be a little specific as well. So it should be a good balance, and you'll figure this out as you keep making cards. And in addition to that, another metric is most of the text in the card should be in a closed deletion. And it should also be in a systematic format. So it should be in a step-by-step format. So if you make a closed deletion that only has a one-word answer, first of all, that probably doesn't need to be its own closed deletion card. It could probably be a part of a larger card. So it's probably not a good use of your time. It's probably a waste of your time to even make cards like that. And second, you want to make sure that these closed deletion cards are asking you to explain a system from beginning to end, chronological order. So these are the kinds of things you want to keep in mind. That's the framework that I used for my cards, making sure I had a question, making sure most of the text was in the closed deletion, and making sure it was in a chronological step-by-step format. So, all right, I made my card right here. I'm going to go back to decks. I'm going to go ahead and keep adding my cards. So first things first, my tag down here. All right. So the next concept I see here is cortical reaction, and I have some pieces of information about it. So text, what is cortical reaction? And then my information is going to be down here. So while I'm doing this, another question I tend to get is, should I make notes off the MCAT review books, or should I create Anki cards right off of the review books? And my answer to that is it really does depend on your style of learning, and it also depends on how much time you have. Obviously, if you were to create your own notes and summarize your own notes, it's going to take more time to do so, right? If you were to create a document like the way I did right here, it's going to take you a lot of time. And so if you're really pressed for time, I would recommend just trying to pull off the Anki flashcards off the review books. Now, if you have time, and I really do encourage you guys to start your prep early enough so that you do have time, you should make your own notes, because first things first, you organize the information better, it's in your style. If you need to reference something, you don't need to go back to the review book, open up the relevant chapter, the section, whatnot, and then probably reread a section of it just to get the gist of what you're trying to look up again. If you have your own notes, it's really easy. It's in your own words. It's in your own language. It's much easier to locate information and reference it. So that's the first benefit of obviously doing it. The second benefit is it's so much easier to make Anki cards when you have your own notes and your own words, because really all you do is it's just a copy paste game at that point. As long as you're following the guidelines for the appropriate, to create an effective card, which I'm talking about, it's really just a copy paste game. So here I went ahead and copied that information. I pasted it right here. This is really all the information that I need to know about a cortical reaction. And at this point, what I'm going to do is close deletion, close deletion, close deletion, and then finally close deletion. And when I go ahead and add this card, and if I were to go ahead and review it, this is basically what it looks like. I have all of those 4 blank, and now I'm just going to be testing myself on it. Now, on this note, another thing is when you're usually creating your closed deletions, it's not going to give you the C1 each time. It does so for me because I had another add-on and I went ahead and edited the code for the add-on so that I could get this. But basically, what's going to happen for you guys is it's going to say C1, C2, C3, and C4. So the thing is, if you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to look like this. It's going to block off the first one, and then it's going to basically show you the rest, and it's basically going to create a card per closed deletion. Now, I don't think that's effective because you want to have less information from the answer as possible when you're answering this question. You want to basically regurgitate all that information at once. So if you're testing yourself on the system, try to make it flow like kind of like in chronological order. And if you're given 3 out of 4 pieces of information, it could really easily serve as a memory indicator to me as to what the first one was. And so that's not doing me any good. I don't want hints. I don't want clues. This process needs to be easy, systematic essentially, but it also needs to make the question as hard as possible where it's requiring me to pull all that information out of my short-term or long-term memory. So that's why it's really important, in my opinion, to make sure that all of the closed deletions are going to be in one card. And that's going to only happen if you change it up to having the same number after it. And if you want me to make a quick video about how you can automate that process, just let me know in the comments. It's a really quick thing, and I'll make a video about that. All right, so that's basically it. And then I have one other question here. So I'm gonna go back to my decks. I'm gonna go ahead and create this other question, this other flashcard. So add right here, and it's about twins. So basically, okay, I have dizygotic twins, I got monozygotic twins. Now I wanna go ahead and talk about both. So my question is gonna be, what are the differences between dizygotic and monozygotic twins? All right, so basically what I'm gonna do is same thing, copy paste game, because I created my own notes. I have the luxury to do so. So the more time you put up front when you're creating your notes and summaries, the less time you need to put later on in these Anki flashcards. So I'm gonna just go ahead and make this look a little better, and then basically just create 2 closed deletions because I have 2 different concepts right here being tested. And on this note, something that I haven't done yet, which I did do when I was making my own cards, was adding information in the extra section. So it's really important. So let's say, this could perhaps well be a good topic that's gonna have a good image on Google Images, or maybe a Khan Academy video, which is gonna have a good diagram. Take screenshots and put those in the extra section. Because when you're reviewing the cards, when you click on the space bar, when you click on answer and you get the answer, you'll also see what's in the extra section. So even if you struggled with the card, if you need to re-review the concept a little bit, you have the context necessary if you have a good diagram, a good memory aid. So that's why it's very important to make sure you take advantage of the extra section. Now, I didn't always have additional information there, so this is optional, but if it's a concept that it either seems very easy to be understood from a diagram, or if it seems to be very complicated, or if it's a concept that you personally struggle with, I would encourage using that extra section. All right, so, and then, oops, I forgot my tags, add, you have a closed deletion type, oops, okay. So I forgot to add my closed deletion here, and I'm done. Add this card, that's it. I have my Anki cards added. So basically that's how I encourage you guys to use closed deletions. It's a very effective flashcard type. Now, in addition to this, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the image occlusion cards. So with the image occlusion cards, essentially what ends up happening is you use this for diagrams, graphs, and charts, because those are really visual things. It's not necessarily that you're just trying to memorize what's going on, but you really want to explain the process. And with image occlusion cards, it helps you do that in a very systematic process. So first things first, let's go over here. Oops, okay, we're already in there. So when I click add, I go up here at the type, image occlusion enhanced, click choose, and this is what it shows me. So we're gonna go ahead and test this out first on some pieces of information right here. So basically, I'm not going to do anything with these different subheadings and headers and whatnot. I'm not going to put anything in here. The Anki system is going to handle that stuff for me. So basically, all I need to do is I need to go up here and click on that little picture frame thingy. It's on the top far right, and it's add image occlusion. So click on that, and here, so it's basically telling me to select my image, tell it where my image is. So I did not exactly save an image right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cancel that and use an image that I have already pulled up. So let's say I want to go ahead and memorize one of these images right here. So let's say we have the blastula and the gastrula. Okay, so what I'm going to do is copy image, go here, click on the button. Since it was in my clipboard already, it's going to automatically show up now. And what I want to do is I want to remember the different parts of this. And so basically you click on this rectangle right here and you block off the key pieces of text that you want to remember. So these are the different parts of the blastula and the gastrula. I want to remember them. How am I going to do it? I'm going to block off the text from this image. Now, as I've said a lot of different times, our brains love to process images as opposed to text. So this is a very effective type of flashcard that you need to use for diagrams, graphs, and charts and whatnot. So I go ahead and do that, and then we have two options down here: hide all, guess one, and hide one, guess one. If you hide all, guess one, basically each time you're being asked, it's going to block everything and only show you, it's going to block everything and then quiz you on one. If you do hide one, guess one, it'll show you everything else, only block one while it's testing you on that. Same concept as I said for the cloze deletions. You don't want to do that. Everything should be blocked off, make the process as more difficult as possible. So hide all, guess one. 5 cards were added. Close this off, study now. Okay, there we go. This is how it's going to ask me. So here it's highlighted in red. It's asking me what that essentially is pointing to in both images. And then I can just keep going and going and going. And then that's basically it. All right, so that's how that works for a very good diagram. Now, let's say we had a graph and I wanted to really understand the concepts behind the graph. So oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. So right here, I pull that up. So, okay, we don't need to open that up. Let's just go ahead and copy the image. Let's create an image occlusion card for this one as well. I'm gonna do the same process. I copied it. I'm gonna go ahead and click on the picture frame. The shortcut is Command-Shift-O. Yeah. All right, so there we go. Command-Shift-O, same thing. It'll pull up your image. It was already in my clipboard. I'm going to block off certain things here. So basically what this diagram is the oxygen hemoglobin dissociation curve. This is covered in biochem. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to block off specific pieces of information. So here, it's telling you what's happening as we're going to the right of the curve, the different conditions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just block all of that off. Here, what's going on as we move to the left of the curve, block all of that off. And hide all, guess one, same thing as before. Close. If I were to go ahead and test myself, there's the card. It blocked off that piece, those pieces of information. And now it's just quizzing me on that. And so this is how I would test myself. And if you wanted to add any extra piece of information, I believe you can do so by editing, and then down here at the bottom. Well, first of all, you can go ahead and add tags, and second, you have the extra section where you can add stuff. So you have that. All right, so that is it. And basically, in addition to this, I wanted to show you one more thing. So yeah, it's really easy to create an image occlusion card if you have the image from Google Images or a graph or whatnot from Google Images like I did here. So that's great. But let's say I can't find a good image. Let's say I'm really struggling, or let's just say there's a concept that it could really well be put in an image. Like there could be a really good image for it, but the images on Google are just way too complicated, because you will come across MCAT concepts which they could really well be represented in an image to make it be easy to memorize, but you won't find a good resource online with the image or whatnot, or even in the review book. So here's what I did for a lot of those types of cards. First things first, I'm going to show you an example. So here, last section of this chapter, it was on gestation and stuff. So here we basically had the different characteristics of the developing embryo in the first trimester, second trimester, and also the third trimester. So I had different pieces of information, different characteristics. So basically, and then what happened at birth. So basically what I did was I created my own little pictorial representation. So if you've seen my previous video, one of my previous videos in the MCAT strategy series where I talked about how I proposed tackling the MCAT biochem section, it's using a pictorial representation. So I'm all for, visual aids. And in this case, what I would do is I would make my own visual aid. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw out in chronological order. So this really works well when you're dealing with things that are like organ systems or, that are in chronological order. Image occlusion enhanced cards work really well for these types of systems. So here we're moving from, the actual fertilization to, we have the embryo, and then we are going to have first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, and then birth. So this is a really chronological process. So I would really love to create kind of like an image showing this, kind of like really showing us what's going on as we move through the stages. Drawing and creating diagrams is a really easy process for this to make this really clear. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and draw this out. And what I would do is in Notability, I would just draw this out. And then after I do that, I would go ahead and copy and paste that image essentially to my card for image occlusion and then block it off as necessary. So here I already have an image. So let me just copy and let's see if that'll show up here. So Command-Shift-O. Okay, that did not work. Let's see if we can change the image. Desktop. Okay, so here we go. Basically, it doesn't look that clean. It doesn't look that neat. Obviously, what I would do is I'd go ahead and crop this out and filter this out probably. So after I would do that, essentially what I was going to do is come on inside and then block off important pieces of information. So here, first trimester, as you can see, the diagram corresponds really well with the textual information here. But basically in the first trimester, we have this developing baby called a fetus for the first time, and most of its organs are developed, and therefore I drew like a little teddy bear kind of thing, just to kind of emulate that, it's like a fetus, it's like a baby. So second trimester, I basically drew an arrow, and then now it looks more like it's a stick figure, but it's supposed to be more like a human. And so the point is that they were trying to make in the text was, I believe, there's more growth, there's more development. In the third trimester, in the text, they talked about how it's grown even more. Now, I drew like muscles to show that it's like stronger because of antibody transfer. So during this stage, what happens is we have antibodies being transferred from the mother to the fetus, and that essentially allows the baby to have kind of its own defense system against pathogens and pathogens, because the baby's immune system is really underdeveloped at that point. So that's why I drew that, kind of like a visual way to remember that. And then next, the baby's really large now. So when you're really large, you take up less space, and therefore there's less movement when you're inside because you're in a confined space. So that was just my way of remembering things using kind of like a diagram. And then the next stage after the third trimester will obviously be at birth. And so birth is equal to parturition, and you need two things at that point. So here's what I would do if I was blocking this off. First trimester, straight up block that whole thing off. Second trimester, just block that whole thing off. I need to tell the story when I'm being presented this card. And then at this point, what I would do is a third trimester, block that off. At birth, block off what birth is, like the term for it. And probably not do that. Okay, so there we go. I would then block off, or wait, let's click on this again, go in. I would block off prostaglandins, oxytocin, hide all, guess one, 6 cards were just added. Let's close all this off, get in here, show you how that looks. There we go. Obviously, it wouldn't look like this if I cropped it out in the beginning, but basically now it's asking me, okay, what happens in the first trimester? And so if I think about it, I can basically remember that, okay, in the first trimester, we have the baby being called a fetus, and the baby's organs are mostly developed, okay? And I can test myself on it. Okay, I knew it. And so if I know it, I press good. As I said in my previous video, I don't like to press easy. It would make it longer for me to see the card, and I know my memory. I'm not gonna remember the card that well. And then if I really just, I bombed it, I didn't really know it, I would click again. So I'd do that, and then it's gonna keep asking me. Second trimester, what goes on? Baby's developing more, baby's doing all good. Third trimester, the baby's developed even larger, and it has muscles, so it has antibody transfer. And in addition to that, we also have the baby, since it's so large, it takes up more space, and so it has less space to move around, so therefore less movement. Birth, parturition, and it needs prostaglandins and oxytocin. It's really easy to remember things, even if they're textual pieces of information, even if those words make no sense to your mind in your head, if you're looking at them from the first time. even if, it's so hard to remember some of these things, it's so easy to remember them if you draw your own diagram. Or just use a diagram. And so that's why I wanted to show you guys how I did that myself. I created my own diagrams for those types of questions, and it really helped me so much for remembering things. Like that card I created right now, I didn't review the material for so long, but I'm really confident that if I were to see that card again in 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks is a stretch, but after a couple of days, even though I haven't reviewed that material in a long time, I could probably answer that card because I created my own diagram. I have those visual cues, and it's really like in my head now because I hand wrote it out. I created my own diagram, and I used image occlusion enhanced cards. So yeah, that is basically it for this video. I think it kind of went, I think it was kind of long, but I hope it was well worth it. I wanted to show you guys my workflow. If this was really helpful and you guys want to see me do the same thing for maybe a different subject, maybe how I remembered biochem pathways, or maybe how I made cards for those things, let me know in the comments. I would be happy to do so. I love talking about Anki. I love sharing Anki with as many people as possible because I think it's an amazing tool. And even if it takes time to learn, there's a slight learning curve. Obviously with videos like the ones I'm making and the many amazing ones out there, I think it does make it easier. But I know that it does take a little bit more time to learn and kind of get acclimated to. So, but I do think that you do save a lot of time in the long run. So yeah, I hope this video is helpful. If it was, please let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like. If you have any questions, comment down below. And also, if it's a longer question, just email me, send me an Instagram DM. Otherwise, I do respond to all DMs. And yeah, I hope that was helpful. So take care, guys. I will see you in the next one.